Also, I wanted to show a chart which displays the approximate area of Phoenix, Arizona. And here I show on 33rd latitude with the appropriate longitude. And here we're seeing solar elevation. I was saying solar azimuth earlier. I was incorrect. It's solar elevation. The azimuth is the angle of the degree from north, while solar elevation is going to be the degrees from the horizon. And so our solar elevation, the pinnacle of the sun here, is going to be, you can see it visually here, at 33 degrees on the winter solstice. And this is a really neat program. You can find it here. Is the you can find it. It's a solar DAT program from the University of Oregon. And maybe I'll post a link where you can actually do these charts yourself. And you could also, I could pull it up in Stellarium too, but I'm not going to do that. But you can see here that it's got, it'll come up. Here's 30 degrees. Here's your 35 degree marker, and we're right under there at 33 degrees. And this is going to be the only location latitude-wise that's going to do that phenomenon. Like I said earlier, if we go to a higher or lower altitude or latitude, that's going to affect the solar elevation, and it's not going to equal the same degrees as it does the latitude position. And so this is in essence the sweet spot. 33 degrees is the sweet spot. Okay, I'm coming back to Google Earth. I was having some technical difficulties here, but I wanted to discuss the position of the way the Earth is tilted on the winter solstice and how light hits the Earth during this time, specifically in the northern hemisphere. And so here I can change the time. I'm having difficulties with the bar here, so I'm gonna have to do it manually. But here we can change the time, and we can see that the light approaches this particular line, which is perpendicular to our the average of our two lines. And I've shown that in my previous videos without commentary. And so clearly this shows a connection on the winter solstice of these lines to the solar movement. However, here's a connection that I hadn't made before, and it's another way the light hits the lines So I've adjusted the light here, and on a certain time of the day during the winter solstice, what we have is this light. It completely keeps out the darkness out of the inner area of our range. And what we have here is we have Europe, we have Egypt, we have the 13 colonies of the United States, and you also have the inner portion of Mexico. But what you'll notice is that as you get closer to the intersection points, this no longer holds true. And we're now in the southern hemisphere, and this represents the summertime, not the winter. And so in the northern hemisphere, this holds true. Now, if I were to switch the lines to the summer solstice, which I'll do later, you'll see that it does the same exact thing, and we have the complete opposite situation. So what this represents is it's Horus chasing away Set, is what it is. He's chasing it away, and that's why we have the horse representations. We have another horse, giant horse here, right off this line. And I don't think it's an accident. There's another one. Beautiful. So we have the Horus on horseback in the horse latitudes, chasing away Set, the darkness, the most religious time of the year, because it represents the birth of God, the preservation of life against Set, preservation of life against the winter, the cold, the darkness. And here they've somehow managed to simultaneously mark the areas on the earth which were able to maintain light during this time. And I later readjusted my lines. I originally had my lines set for the eastern cities connected to Stonehenge, this line in particular, but I found this interrelationship between Stonehenge and I don't even know how you pronounce it, Chilkilco or Chilkilco, which is almost, it's another circular marker stone, and I believe that is the point where they marked the two connections, and then we have it come through all of our cities, including the capitals of Georgia and Alabama, Montgomery, and Atlanta. And then you have Roanoke, the area which was originally colonized and sent over by Francis Bacon, Rosicrucians, and Roanoke was in this area. But now they have created a new town called Roanoke in honor of that town, and they placed it directly on the line. So I believe it's obvious that the Freemasons are aware of this phenomenon, and we have just the pyramid. The lines themselves keep out the darkness during this time, and so the lower line is what is in question. What does the lower line represent? And I believe it just represents a perpendicular line in symmetry with this line that was created, that is perpendicular with the north-south pole position, which I've shown in my previous videos, and this points perfectly east at this position, this line. And then this portion of the line during the summer solstice is exactly positioned just as the darkness is held out here over the northern line. Now, there's another interesting fact that I just want to touch on before I end this video, and I want to zoom into Stonehenge, and we come through that heel stone, and we take it all the way to the pyramids. Let's call it Stonehenge Pyramids. What you find is that will take us right through the lighthouse of Alexandria in Alexandria, Egypt, which is not only was used to bring in ships, it has a symbolic meaning. Once again, questioning whether Alexander ever existed at all. But let's go back to Stonehenge and see if that cuts right through that heel stone. And there it is. We're cutting right through that heel stone. So that Stonehenge points directly to Egypt. Now, what I believe this line is I believe it's an older interpretation of this line that we have here. Perhaps when Egypt was in its height of power, this was the line. But then, now that we have Israel really in control of many things in the world, we have it possibly reoriented to this position here. So when we look at adjusting our time, we can see that the light in that angle also perfectly fits, and we have the lighthouse of Alexandria lighting as the Son of God, lighting this area further. But I think when the esoteric observers of this came to the Americas, they realized this is incorrect, and so they have readjusted it and realized that they had the correct alignment all along over here, and that this may have just been a political relocation or location between Stonehenge and Egypt, not necessarily being completely correct. And so when we change it back, just outside our line, then we see that how closely this comes into the line now in America, creating that phenomenon. Anyways, it's really not too much more I want to show you guys. I'm just going to show you the summer solstice real quick. We'll go to the summer solstice, and here we'll be able to observe how we now have it line up with the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. And then when we approach our center positions, we start to see that fall apart. But once again, we have that lower line, which now is the upper line in this position, perfectly perpendicular with north and south here. So just a lot of things, a lot of symbolism here, and what these lines actually represent. And when we look at that, we have Horus here at the eye of the pyramid, that we have Isis here in America, that we have a representation of Osiris here, we have a representation of Osiris or Orion or Min here in Stonehenge. And you really start to see how this all fit together. All right.